You feel betrayed, but we linger. You have to put up this protective shield to not be drained by them. Are they really worth being around? Hey, it's me. This growth series, they are life lessons where I feel like I had an experience that led to growth. And I'm going to be talking about cutting ties. Most of us may have come across people where our experience with them have been less than optimal, shall we say. And there's different aspects to it. Someone hurt you and you want to cut them off. They behaved in a way that you didn't expect, or maybe you feel like you're trapped. I'm going to touch on each of those individually, but in general, you shouldn't feel like you have to armor up every time you're around someone. If you have to mentally prepare, meditate, get in a space to protect your energy, that's a sign you may want to consider letting them go. If it's occasional, that's fine because we all have our moments or our seasons. But if it's been 2 years and that's the way every time they are when you interact with them and what you have to do to prepare to be around them, you may want to reevaluate. Let's say someone behaved in a way that you didn't expect. When you met them, they were always nice to you or you got along with them well, but a few months down the line, they were different. They were negative, dismissive, unsupportive, petty, and just straight up mean. So you think maybe they're just going through a phase. Maybe. But a more likely reality is that they're comfortable showing you their true colors, or they just got tired of showing up as their representative. And you can feel confused of which part was really them, but time will tell. This happened to me with a coworker. She was really nice, helpful, supportive, but it was all an act. When she got comfortable, the way she talked about people, she changed. She would sing their praises in a meeting and send me a private message and dog them out. It was like this shock. She was being openly two-faced. And I was like, why? Because you don't have to offer up those supportive words. She chose to. Over time, our conversation changed. It became heavy, pessimistic, and just negative. I let her know I didn't want to focus on that and I was just trying to be positive and get through my day. I'm not really the type of person that likes to harp on being negative, petty, gossiping. If you do, do you. So let's go into the second scenario where you feel trapped. Usually, this is often family situations. There's a narrative of family is family or blood is blood, but I don't believe that. Family can get cut off too. There's some situation where it's not easy. The main one is if you both have a child together, or maybe they're your extended family and you don't get along with your husband's mother. Most of the time, it's ego or pride. That person, they feel like you took their spot, took attention away from them, you don't give them their worth. They feel like they're above you, you haven't given them enough credit. These are just possibilities. The list of reasons could be endless. But honestly, a lot of it could come down to insecurity. But another common example is if they're your parents, and depending on your age, you aren't legally or fiscally capable of cutting them off. One thing I learned about people is most people are not self reflective. They don't realize how they affect others. Expression is the biggest thing with those type of people. You want to express yourself, but not if you're in a trigger reaction of an angry situation because you're feeding their energy. They're upset, now they've made you upset, and they get what they want, or that energy just continues to bounce back and forth and you get nowhere. If it's on a conscious level or a subconscious level that brought you front and center and it made you feel bad too, even if it's just in the sense of irritation, they may feel like you're okay with them when you're not because you tolerate them and you continue to be around them. And if you're a teenager, I'm not asking you to run away from home. Please don't do that. I'm saying let them know where you're at. Depending on the situation, the relationship, your age, your setting, include your own personal factors and put it to work at your own discretion. I saw something from a writer and she was saying to respond to negativity by asking them, did they say that to hurt you? Or ask them to repeat it. Because people say things without thinking. You're choosing to not let it in and you're giving them the chance to retract their statement. If they continue with it, then let them realize that it won't work. Don't let the negativity that they're putting on you cause you to act in a way that is harmful for yourself or the situation. And that's the point I'm trying to make with expression. Try to set some boundaries. Like, I understand you're upset, but you can't insult me. If you continue to, I won't have this conversation with you. But these are not examples for situations of abuse. When you set boundaries, do they listen? Or do they double down on their statement? Realistically, some people are just mean. They may say, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way." And you're like, "Well, how else could you have meant it? It was clearly directed towards me." True self reflection is rare. When someone feels called out, they may instantly go to this stance of like, "Well, it wasn't like that." Everyone has areas of improvement. No one's perfect, but you do have to humble yourself to grow. If you look around and everyone is pointing the finger back at you, reality is you may have some growth to do. For some of you, it may be realizing when to let someone go. The last situation I want to cover is someone hurt you and you want to cut them off, but you're having a hard time. This may be someone who is pulling on your energy and they don't respect your boundaries or they drain you. Bring it into context. Why are you around them? Is it by choice, obligation, duty, history, or is it just vicinity? Is it a consistent theme with them? Is it habitual? Like they're on autopilot and they don't process it? Or do you think it's a conscious action on their part? Depending on who this person is, you may feel like you don't need them. If your home is taken care of, you've got food on the table, you're safe and healthy, I don't need them. And from a logical survival standpoint, that's true. When we're upset, we're in this state of emotional disbelief. We want to quickly get past it, but we linger. Majority of the time, we don't need people from a service standpoint. Connections are more than that. They're not functional. We can do daily tasks and function without them. They're emotional, they're psychological. They affect the way we think about others, they affect the way we feel. So before you just straight up cut ties, it's important to have a conversation because the reality is, if you want to admit it or not, you're hurt. You feel betrayed or at the least let down. People can't give us what they don't have. If they never had the resources or weren't taught self reflection or how to regulate their emotions, our partner, our parents, our friends, our family, they may not realize how they come off in certain situations. Honestly, most of us weren't taught it ourselves, but we had a level of growth. We learned it on our own time. Sometimes we linger, cutting people off might get that feeling of FOMO. We might think of that highlight reel of the good times and ignore the bad. And you have to come to the reality of what are you really missing. It can be rare that our interaction with someone was negative from start to finish. It was some good in there because if it wasn't, you usually would have cut them off before it became anything significant where you had to question it. Some important things to consider: the way they acted, was it not because they didn't care, but because they haven't had to look at things in that way? What approach works best for them? Having a conversation and expressing where you're at by being soft and gentle? Or do you need to be firm and direct? Either way could work as long as they know you're serious. Are they genuinely willing to listen, grow, and try? I'm not talking about someone who's going to do it for a couple of weeks and then go back to the same old me. Nuh-uh. That's not growth. Now, realistically, trying will have some ups and downs, but you can tell when someone is invested and when they're not. Also consider, how does their presence affect you? I saw a TED Talk and it was about how a person's energy can affect the room. You have people, when they come into the room, they lift the energy. People, where they come into the room, it's neutral. There's no change, good or bad. And then there's people who bring the energy down. Even after they left, they drained the energy. Have you ever been somewhere and the tension was really thick and you could just feel it in the air? If every time you're around someone, if they bring your energy down, or you feel like you have to put up this protective shield to not be drained by them, are they really worth being around anyways? Some people are there for a reason or a season, and we try to turn it into a lifetime. I like to say, you don't always get second chances in life, so make the best of your first one. No one owes you a second chance, and you don't owe them one. Decide if you want to give them grace, or maybe you're tired of them making you out to be the bad guy or draining your energy, and you've decided to let them go. Everyone doesn't deserve a spot in your life. Think of it like a train station. How many people on your train need to get off at the next stop? So I'm going to end in a quote. Life is too precious to waste in the wrong company. Thanks for listening.